I'm Manny.
I'm Noah.
This is Devin.
And this is No Such Thing, the show where we settle our dumb arguments and yours by actually doing the research. On today's episode, we're getting to the bottom of the twin film phenomenon.
There's no such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing. No such thing.
Okay, we're here to talk about twin films and why they happen so frequently. But first, obviously, we have to know what a twin film is.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a pair of movies that have extraordinarily similar premises. And
Word.
that,
I like that. I like that pronunciation too.
and that release within a year of each other. There are some outliers with this. Like there are some twin films that come out more than a year apart.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some outliers that have to do with the plot as well. Like there are some movies that seem similar at first, but then when you watch them, they're not really that similar.
Yeah.
We're dealing with that right now with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and this movie coming out next year from Maggie Gyllenhaal. I think it's called The Bride. Sometimes both of the twin films are popular, like Finding Nemo and A Shark's Tale.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, wow.
I forgot about A Shark's Tale. I was a Finding Nemo home, so we didn't watch no Shark's Tale.
Finding Nemo was definitely, I think, the more popular one.
Yeah, but at the
for
time
sure.
they were
Shark Tale
both
was,
big.
Shark Tale
big.
was a classic, like, substitute teacher.
Yeah, that's
roll
like I
into TV.
remember renting that. I think renting the DVD or something.
Yeah, you weren't going to theaters for that
but
one.
you know, Finding Nemo, we had the tape.
Yeah.
You own that.
And Will Smith delivers a masterclass in Shark Tale.
And my man Sykes has just begged me not to murderize all y'all up in here, all right? Now, I might listen to him, but then again, I might not. And that depends on the individual behavior of all the individuals in here individually.
In other instances, one twin film is just way more popular than the other one to the point where you might not have even heard of the other one. So one example is Madagascar, we all know and love.
Yep.
Move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Sure.
There was a Disney movie that came out the same year called The Wild, which was the same plot. Animals from the Central Park Zoo end up in Africa.
Oh.
And it had like a real cast.
The Wild.
Have you ever heard of this movie?
No.
No, I need to see it. Let me see some imagery.
It looks like a generic, like a less stylized version
Of Madagascar.
of Madagascar. But in the cast, we had Kiefer Sutherland, Eddie Izzard, Richard Kind was in there, William Shatner.
Huh.
And it's like the same animals too. There's a
The zebra?
giraffe.
Who's the zebra?
There's no zebra, but
Okay.
there's a giraffe in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I thought that was interesting.
There's a giraffe. Who would have thought making a zoo movie they're gonna have a giraffe and a lion?
It was all, yeah.
But of course, the most referred to example of twin films is, of course, Armageddon and Deep Impact. We're going to save that one for later when we talk to the What Went Wrong folks. But from my recollection, I think like Armageddon was like the big, dumb, loud one, and Deep Impact was supposed to be the higher brow, smartly written one. We'll see if that holds up. But before we get into like why exactly twin films happen so regularly with so much frequency, what are some other ones that I'm missing? Like what are some big twin films?
There was the like rom-coms of No Strings Attached.
Oh, yeah.
And then Friends with Benefits.
That's right.
I'm a doctor. I work 80 hours a week. I need someone who's going to be in my bed at 2 a.m. who I don't have to eat breakfast with.
I'm emotionally unavailable.
I'm emotionally damaged.
You know what I'm saying?
No emotions, just sex.
Those came out around the same time, around, you know, like Friends or love interests or Are They?
Who were the two
It was
pairs of
Ashton
actors?
Kutcher and who's his actual?
Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman.
And then the other one was Mila Kunis
And
Justin Timberlake. And that's funny because Ashton Kutcher is married to Mila Kunis. They should have just had them in the same movie.
Yeah. I don't know if they were married at the time. I don't think they were.
No, probably not.
But they were on that 70s show together, which is
I
how
thought
they
they were
initially
dating
met.
since then.
Since
He's
that
probably
70s
married
show?
to Demi Moore then.
Oh, you're
I'm
right.
thinking.
I'm wrong about this.
Someone look this up.
Yeah.
Jamie,
Not now. Yeah.
what are some other ones? Like one I remember is Dante's Peak.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
In the town of Dante's Peak, a
A volcano is turning nature into a nightmare.
Which was a Pierce Brosnan like disaster movie that takes place in the Pacific Northwest. They're escaping from a volcanic eruption, and this was an example of one that was way more popular than the other one, I think, because I hadn't even known about this movie Volcano with Tommy Lee Jones.
Mm-hmm. In a city where anything can happen, on April 25th, it will.
Same year, or within a year of each other, and same exact plot, but just I had not heard of that one. Have you guys heard of Volcano?
Yeah, but definitely Dante's Peak was like always on, like
TBS.
Yeah, TBS or one of those like constantly.
Another classic one that's more recent is Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down.
Yeah.
We're talking about the safety of the President of the United States.
We're talking about a hell of a lot more than that, sir.
Which is funny because they also both have black presidents in them.
Hey,
what's funny about
we
that?
had a run, all right? People forget. There's been one.
We did have one.
It made sense.
Yes.
I think Morgan Freeman is the president in one of them, and Jamie Foxx is the president in the other
really?
one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, right?
Oh,
it's the Gerard Butler.
whichever one that is, I need to see it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's my president right there.
That's like, he's young.
So Olympus Has Fallen is the Gerard Butler one.
Yeah.
Okay, and Channing Tatum's in White House Down?
I think so. White House Down will be Channing Tatum and Jamie Foxx.
Is Jamie Foxx the president, or is he just in it?
President James Sawyer.
Oh, wow.
And before any Olympus Has Fallen heads send me angry emails, I should clarify that Morgan Freeman's character is only technically acting president. The elected president is Aaron Eckhart. But, of course, there is one pair of twin films that the three of us have spent a lot of time debating way back, starting in 2016, and that is A Bug's Life
For the colony and for oppressed bugs everywhere!
versus Antz.
He's willing to live for the colony, to fight for the colony, to die for the colony.
This guy's crazy.
Now, the reason we've been debating this is that Noah and I feel like Antz is the obvious better movie, and Devin thinks that we're crazy.
Yeah, of course.
And I actually want to break the differences between these movies down for the listeners, because I think understanding the differences between these movies might actually be useful for us in terms of trying to figure out why twin films happen in the first place. So let's start with the plot. Both movies are about ants that spark a revolution of sorts against their oppressors. In A Bug's Life, the oppressors are grasshoppers, evil grasshoppers. They're not really dynamic. They're just evil. They just come and bully and eat everything.
So where is it?
Where's my food?
It's a little more interesting in Ants. The ants are in a war with these termites that are encroaching on their territory. But the war general for the ants is like sending the ants that are loyal to the queen off to war on a suicide mission so that he and the remaining ants can enact a coup d'etat.
Attack a termite colony, sir. That's suicide.
Exactly. Do you have the list I asked for?
Yes, General. These are the units loyal to the Queen.
So, Devin, why don't you tell us a little bit about why you're wrong to think that A Bug's Life is better and more interesting than that plot?
Well, first of all, both of these are supposed to be kids' movies.
That's true.
Allegedly.
Right? Okay. So A Bug's Life is Pixar universe. Basically, A Bug's Life looks like, I don't know if there is some sort of like Easter egg. It looks like it's a Toy Story world.
It's got that style.
Very bright.
Very similar style. You zoom in on one of Andy's toys in the grass somewhere and you saw A Bug's Life happening, you'd like, this makes sense.
Wow.
Yes.
They should do that.
So Toy Story, iconic. A Bug's Life, iconic. Okay, they live in the same world. Just remember that. The thing that I love about A Bug's Life is it has so many memorable scenes. We did a back-to-back watching of A Bug's Life and Antz. You know, I had not watched this film since I was a child. A long time ago.
That tracks.
And I had remembered scenes from A Bug's Life, which is crazy.
Yeah.
All these years, it's not something that really comes up in pop culture or anything that you're like, I'm not. And I was like, oh my God, I remember the rain specifically, that rain scene where the ants are running for their lives because the raindrops are like
the big droplets.
Yes.
Yep.
And it is a thing that, like, from my childhood to now, I thought about, and I didn't realize that I was thinking about it because of A Bug's Life. When it rains and I'm outside and I see bugs, I thought, like, oh, shoot, it's
Bad
about
time
to
for
go
them.
down.
Yeah.
And then when I just watched it more recently, I was like, oh, it's because of A Bug's Life.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is when you think of childhood movies, those scenes that stay with you, that change the way you view the world.
Wow.
Okay?
This is
that
beautiful.
That is why we make films.
That's why we make children's films.
And when we watched Antz, it felt like some weird Woody Allen nightmare. Okay?
Yeah. Well, it was a weird Woody Allen nightmare.
It's very moody. It's just like, I'm like, what? This is not for kids. This feels like some adult was going through something and they're forcing their kid to sit down and watch this. It's like, it feels like divorced dad energy.
A Bug's Life is certainly more colorful and easier on the eyes.
And
I would
it's
say.
funny. A Bug's Life is hilarious. Scene to scene, every line is a joke. I'm watching Antz. I'm like, what? Nothing. It really is not funny. It's kind of depressing and sad.
Well, it's funny because there's an ant. There's PTSD. It's funny. It's kind of macabre.
It's funny that the ants have trauma.
I'm sorry. I don't think trauma's funny, but some of us can laugh at it, I guess.
So let's go cast for cast here. You got Kevin Spacey, obviously, as the villain Hopper.
See, playing the proper role.
Yeah,
Kevin Spacey, the villain.
A bad guy playing a villain.
It's actually great casting if you think about it.
Yeah, but this was way before he was.
Well, hey,
a bad
they
guy,
knew. They knew. There's something dark in him.
Yeah. Julia Louis-Dreyfus plays Atta.
Yeah, the love interest.
Hayden Panettiere is Dot, I think the little girl ant.
Yeah.
Richard Kind. You've got Dennis Leary. So, it's a pretty stacked cast, but let's look at Antz. Because Antz has some fucking hitters in the cast. Woody Allen, obviously.
Woody Allen.
It's a voice. Your boy Kevin Spacey, meanwhile, no problem. Okay, we don't need to go there.
Both films have problematic actors in them.
Listen,
right?
they're getting a paycheck.
This is a wash.
Yeah.
They cancel each other out. Gene Hackman is Mandible, who I believe is like the war general.
R.I.P.
Sharon Stone is Bala. You got Dan Aykroyd. You've got Danny Glover. Jennifer Lopez plays Azteca. Sylvester Stallone. I mean, this is nuts. Christopher Walken, Jim Cummings.
Oh, yeah, Christopher Walken, yeah.
I'm going to say that the Antz cast edges out the A Bug's Life cast in terms of, real hitters.
If you just want to put names on the board, sure.
Yeah,
but
Gene Hackman. Who's a better actor in the world than Gene Hackman?
Can you name what half of these people did in the movie?
Gene Hackman is Mandible.
You don't
He's
even
the main
remember
villain.
who Jennifer Lopez was.
Well, that's true. I don't have an argument against that.
Sly Stallone is in there as a character that looks like him. I remember this, and I believe Chris Walken too is kind of
they do.
They all
kind
make
of
them
play versions
like
of
that's what
themselves.
Shark Tale did too, which I think all animated movies should do that.
Noah, could you talk a little bit about why you like Antz, the film, better than A Bug's Life?
Yeah, I like more mature sorts of things. I like a PG movie if I can get one. I like kind of edgy humor like that. So, I was kind of refreshing myself on Antz, and it really is a proper war movie. There's nods to Apocalypse Now. There's the one scene that really stood out to me, especially on our rewatch, was there's this huge, pretty serious battle scene, and then the leader, he's decapitated essentially.
Right. Yes, I remember this.
Don't make my mistake, kid. Don't follow orders your whole life. Think for yourself.
Anyway, the bodiless head is, kind of giving his final words. I'm like, whoa, this is wild stuff
gets
in
dark.
this movie.
Yeah.
It's just a little, for me as a adult watching this, not sharing it with kids, it's more interesting to watch today. I'll grant I didn't really watch Bug's Life as a kid. I watched it, but it was never like on rotation for me for whatever reason. So it didn't imprint the way where it's like these certain little scenes.
You didn't have a good time on a rewatch?
I didn't say, did I say that? Did I say
y'all
that?
were giggling
Did I
and
say
having
that?
a good time.
I did not say that. I enjoyed watching both of them.
To be clear, I like both movies.
We're picking one. That's the prompt.
I simply enjoy the more interesting
We're weighing the pros and cons. And I like
You had more fun watching Antz?
There's a little bit more to pick at for
I
me.
guess they kind of have different goals. That's what's tough about this is despite the fact that they're twin films, they're not necessarily one for one. They're not so easy to compare.
And I like the kind of ugly, garish art style of Antz.
Yeah, they look like
as something
ants.
to look at. And I appreciate the kind of neurotic witticisms of, the Woody Allen-esque character.
Yeah, I think the humor,
very New York.
the humor was really interesting. But that's not to say I disliked A Bug's Life. I mean, it's definitely.
Well, I know you didn't. I know you two didn't dislike it because y'all were cracking up,
Okay.
giggling the whole time.
Again, we didn't say it's
silent.
bad.
Not much being said.
Yeah,
Well,
we're
that's 'cause
focusing on kind of the
we had a lot
heaviness
more
of
to
it.
think
We're
about
sitting with it.
when we're watching Antz.
I'm taking notes.
I watch movies to be entertained. Okay,
You can do both. Ideally, you get both.
ideally.
Okay, so now we know what a twin film is, and we've been through many, many examples. After the break, we're going to chat with the hosts of the What Went Wrong podcast, a show about the film industry, and see if we can get their thoughts on why twin films happen so regularly in the first place. All right, we're now joined by Lizzie and Chris from the popular What Went Wrong podcast. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us. It's an honor to be here. You guys are so much fancier than us. You have mugs.
I know.
Studio.
Oh, yeah.
I'm in a closet. My wife's
I'm in my
clothes are
baby's
next
nursery.
to me. Yeah. Yeah.
We try. Before you guys joined us, we were talking about this phenomenon of the twin films. We had just ended a rigorous debate about whether A Bug's Life or Antz is the better film. Noah and I are on Team Antz, and Devin is Team A Bug's Life. I'm just curious what your guys' take are.
Lizzie, you have a strong opinion.
Get
You just shared
out
it
of
with
here,
me.
you two, with your ants defending. I am stunned. I'm stunned. I'm very interested I can't wait to hear what your argument was for both sides, but now I'm mad. I'm 100% Bug's Life.
I would also lean A Bug's Life, although not as
Thank
hard
you.
as Lizzie. I appreciate
fair
Antz
enough.
as the manifestation of Jeffrey Katzenberg in a movie, but I still prefer, I think, overall A Bug's Life. But I have kids that age. Like, I would show my daughter A Bug's Life. I probably wouldn't
Yes.
show her Antz at this point.
I agree with that. Yeah, that's
Exactly.
fair. Yeah.
It's an enjoyable film. It's so much fun. It's so memorable.
Yeah.
And it feels like,
I don't have to think about Woody
Allen.
Allen marrying his stepdaughter while I'm watching it.
Exactly.
It's just an easier watch.
You do have to think about Kevin Spacey.
But he's the
No,
bad
he's the
guy.
villain.
Exactly.
He's the villain.
Thank you.
I don't have to root for him.
That's right.
Playing the right role.
Yeah, I don't need Woody Allen as the romantic lead. And you want to know what my biggest problem with Antz was? That I literally screamed at the TV when I was rewatching it for this episode. They're human teeth. It's the most horrible thing I've ever seen.
So creepy.
Horrible. When he's
Yes.
chewing on the plastic, I was like, this
Yes.
is it. I'm done.
Yes.
So, Chris and Lizzie, when it comes to Antz and A Bug's Life coming out at the same time, is it true that there was an alleged intellectual property theft? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, my understanding is development on A Bug's Life began before development on Antz. And so John Lasseter was the director of A Bug's Life. It was written by Andrew Stanton. Joe Ranft, who actually does the voice of Heimlich in the movie, was co-story creator with those two. And this was a well-known project within the animation community. And I have a slightly different thesis as to why these two movies are both around bugs. Lizzie talked about Toy Story on our podcast. And one of the reasons that they chose toys was because highly reflective surfaces as a texture are a lot easier to animate at this point in the technology's maturation process in the mid-1990s. It's really hard to do hair. This is why Monsters, Inc. and Shrek don't come until the early 2000s. A Bug's Life makes a lot of sense because, okay, well, we can animate bugs, right? They have they're exoskeletons. They're shiny. This makes sense. Also, it's ants. We can make one model and then we can clone it a bunch of times. And it's like Andy and all his friends at the birthday party in Toy Story. So the allegations were that Lasseter and Katzenberg were on friendly terms. Katzenberg acrimoniously left Disney. He felt he had been owed a higher position by then CEO Michael Eisner. He was looked over after Lizzie, David Wells or Frank Wells? I can never remember.
Oh man, I want to say it's Frank Wells, but let me double check. He was the head of Disney, who I'm sure you guys know this, but he died unexpectedly in a helicopter crash. It's Frank Wells.
Oh,
Frank Wells, yeah.
And it's pretty wild because, we talked about this in Toy Story, but this guy dies in a helicopter crash, and then Jeffrey Katzenberg is like, "Oh, he's dead? Is it my turn? Is it my turn now?
Oh, wow.
When do
Hey,
I
Mike,
get the...
What's up with the promotion? Let's
Right.
get this going."
Oh my God.
Katzenberg leaves. He ends up suing Disney for an unpaid bonus of well over $100 million. He also was on, Michael Ovitz, formerly of CAA, is coming in. It's a very messy time. DreamWorks gets built, and obviously Pixar starts working with Disney for their distribution of Toy Story and then A Bug's Life. And so the accusation is that Katzenberg stole the idea for A Bug's Life, or Antz, from A Bug's Life after having soundboard conversations with Lasseter, who felt that he could trust Katzenberg. On Katzenberg's side, my understanding is he has asserted, although I've heard also that he has kind of admitted as much, that he may have taken this idea from Lasseter. He has asserted that there was a pitch for a movie called Army Ants back in 1988. While he was at Disney Animation, that was about a worker ant trying to bestow the benefits of individuality upon their colony. That went nowhere, and that's kind of where the idea originated. And then he, picked it up. My best guess, and you guys can tell me, I don't know if we know the truth, but my best guess is there are technological limitations in place. Yeah. And there's only so many types of characters that you can do at this point in time. And Toy Story had already come out, and I think Toy Soldiers is maybe around this time as well. And so DreamWorks is this upstart. We probably don't want to do toys. Okay, we'll do bugs. And we could probably come close to doing bugs. Pixar's doing bugs. They just bought PDI. I'd also heard that PDI, Pacific Data Imaging, had a bugs treatment in the works as well that was also different than A Bug's Life. So again, my instinct, and this could come to my big unifying theory about twin films, is that maybe Katzenberg stole it, or maybe he was mulling on this and he saw Pixar as proof that this was a good direction for DreamWorks to go.
Before we get your guys' thoughts and theories about why twin films kind of occur so regularly, or at least they seem to occur so regularly, I wanted to talk a little bit about Armageddon.
Hitting the rock from the outside will do the job. So, we nuke this thing from the inside? How? We drill. We bring in the world's best deep core driller.
And Deep Impact.
2 comets were discovered that are on a collision course with Earth.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen those movies in a very long time, but from what I recall, I want to see if this is accurate. Armageddon is kind of like the big, dumb blockbuster, and Deep Impact is a slightly smarter, higher brow disaster film. Is that right? Am I making that up?
No, you're right. But here's what's funny.
They're closer than we remember.
Yeah. Okay.
They are closer. Okay. And honestly, so we did this for our live show, which was a blast. We did these 2 movies, and I went into it remembering the same thing. Like, I loved Deep Impact when I was a kid, and I was like, this is the smart movie. This is the movie that cares about science, and I can't wait to rewatch this. And I rewatched it, and I was like, God, I'm bored. I miss Armageddon. And you watch Armageddon, and it's just insane. It's completely insane. I loved it.
Can you tell us about the similarities and the differences between these 2 movies?
Sure. So you have an asteroid that is hurtling towards Earth, and the only way to get rid of it is to blow it up. And then from there, the paths diverge in the wood. And
but the how they're going to deal with it is the same.
Yeah, they're going to blow it up. They're going to blow it up.
But by drilling and sticking a nuke in the hole.
Right. And with Deep Impact, it makes like a decent amount of sense how they're going to go about this. They're going to use astronauts, which, they're going to space, so that tracks. And then you have Armageddon, where
this is where Lizzie and I differ in our opinions, by the way.
This is the
Chris
good part.
thinks Armageddon's a good idea.
Here.
You have Armageddon, where Bruce Willis walks in to Billy Bob Thornton at NASA, and he's like, I believe the line is something along the lines of,
You want to send these boys into space? Fine. I'm sure they'll make good astronauts. But they don't know jack about drilling.
They don't know jack about drilling. I've been drilling for 40 years. And then he basically says, look, you need less astronauts, more oil drillers. And that actually...
They send like one William Fichtner into space, and then the rest are all oil drillers. And you know what? They do it, guys. They get it done.
They're very similar in a lot of ways. They're very structurally different. What's interesting is obviously Armageddon presents itself as an action movie. Deep Impact is effectively a soap opera. It's a melodrama at the end of the day. But it is interesting. Both were very successful. Armageddon was more successful at the box office ultimately. And I don't know if you guys came across this advice. Some executive at one point said, when you're dealing with a twin film situation, the key is to come out first. But the more I looked into it, I don't think that's really the case. The key is if you're the lesser of the two films, come out first.
Then come out first.
That's what's more important. Meaning, like, if you don't have the star power, if you don't think you have the marketing punch, maybe you don't think your movie's as good, you should probably land first. That might be good advice.
As I was watching Antz and A Bug's Life and also thinking about Deep Impact and Armageddon and so many of these other twin films, it does seem to me that the dichotomy is often one of them, as you explained this, Manny, one of them is set up as like, this is the smart movie. Like, this is the one for all the smart people. And the other one's like, this is the big dumb one. This is the big dumb fun one. And that seems to be true kind of across a lot of these. And I just wonder why. Like, is that just how they start to differentiate them as they realize that they're on parallel paths? But I don't know. I'm curious what you guys think.
It's a great question, especially thinking about some of the other popular twin films examples. Like we were talking earlier about Dante's Peak versus Volcano.
Yeah.
And talking about how, like, in some of these instances, one of the movie just becomes way more popular and famous than the other one. I actually hadn't heard of Volcano until I was researching twin films movies, but it's not like a no-name movie. Like, Tommy Lee Jones is the star of it. So I haven't seen Volcano. I don't know if that one is branded or marketed as dumb. Like a dumber or
It's dumb.
Is it as dumb as Dante's Peak?
It's dumber in the sense that Dante's Peak is making an attempt to model itself after the eruption of Mount St. Helens, and Volcano is, there's a volcano in LA. This is crazy. And
where did that come from?
Yeah.
So wait, what is the story behind Armageddon and Deep Impact? How did those come out at the same time?
Well, this one's really interesting. A lot of twin films are disaster films, not surprisingly. And, Hollywood, the peak of disaster films in Hollywood was the 1970s, right? You had Airport, ! In 1970, which shockingly made a ton of money. Things kind of hit their zenith with Towering Inferno, which actually was competing twin films that came together from two different studios. Irwin Allen was the producer behind a lot of these big disaster movies. And they were really an exploration of the peak of what could be done with modern special effects, miniatures, incredible stage builds, etc. That tails off at the end of the 1970s. You have like some attempts at eco-horror like Swarm and stuff like that. And then we get into like action blockbusters of the 80s. But then you have a new technological revolution with Jurassic Park in the early 1990s. And all of a sudden we have all these new tools in our toolbox that we can play with. And so then you get this new renaissance of disaster films, Twister with Jan de Bont, Titanic, for example, and obviously Deep Impact and Armageddon. And so what's interesting is one of the films has its roots in the 1970s. Deep Impact is Zanuck Brown, who had produced Jaws and a number of other films, and they were going to do an adaptation of When Worlds Collide, which was a very famous book about another planet hitting Earth. And I think the problem was development kind of spiraled until the disaster film renaissance had run its course. At the end of the 70s, they put the script in a drawer. Early 90s, they pull the script out of the drawer. They'd kind of stopped working together, but they say, hey, we're going to come back for one last hurrah. They take it to Steven Spielberg at DreamWorks, who says, great, I'm going to direct this. And we have all these brand new technological tools. He's just done Jurassic Park. Like, we can actually show an asteroid hitting the Earth. And then, Lizzie, maybe you can talk a little bit about how this idea may have found its way to rival studio Disney in the mid-1990s.
This is another DreamWorks and Disney rivalry across these two movies. Wow. But so unconfirmed, but there is reason to believe that the screenwriter for Deep Impact, one of the screenwriters, may have had lunch with Michael Ovitz.
We know he had lunch with an unnamed president of Disney.
Yes.
And we believe it might be Michael Ovitz.
Right. And this is Bruce Joel Rubin. It could be Michael Ovitz, but regardless, they sat down, they had lunch, and, he asks Bruce what he's working on. He said, what are you working on? And Bruce is like, I probably shouldn't tell you. Yeah, it's for it's for DreamWorks. And he's like, we're buddies. We're buddies here. You know, we're just guys. Just a couple guys having
Notably,
lunch.
Michael Ovitz, formerly Steven Spielberg's agent.
Yes.
So maybe said to him, hey, I worked with Steve for, 20 years.
Of course.
Like, we're good
They're
pals.
best friends. I'm a safe space. So anyway, they have this lunch where Bruce explains what he's working on. He, gives the full elevator pitch and more for Deep Impact. And then,
according to Bruce,
goes,
the president is taking notes.
Yes, he did say he was taking notes during the lunch, which at that point you should probably stop talking.
I take notes during all my lunches.
Yes, of course. It's how I remember what I like about my friends. But, it's so funny because shortly thereafter, Michael Bay and Jonathan Hensley go in to pitch Armageddon. And they have like the loosest of loose napkin scribbled ideas for this movie. And they go in and the pitch is so fast. Disney's like, yes, greenlit. It's happening. We're doing it. And by the way, it's called Armageddon and you're going to be in the theaters in, a year. And the theory is that, perhaps they were already noodling this after that lunch. And so when Michael Bay came in and he was like, what about astronauts and oil drillers? They were like, done, Michael. We love it. We can't wait.
And what's funny is Armageddon is the production that worked closely with NASA. And
yes,
so,
it's the one that they had to have approved by NASA for scientific accuracy.
Nice. And what is interesting too, Lizzie, as we talked about in our episode, is there were 2 other asteroid-related projects in development. So James Cameron's Bright Angel Falling was set up at, I believe, 20th Century Fox at the time, with Peter Hyams maybe set to direct. That never went anywhere. But if you can read the script, I found a copy of it, and it's clear somebody ripped off somebody, because between Armageddon, Armageddon's pulling so much from Bright Angel Falling or vice versa. And then you also have Asteroid, which becomes an NBC miniseries that's released, I think, in the back half of 1997.
And all of this isn't coming out of thin air, right? Like all of these movies and TV shows about asteroids were inspired by the news of a comet that NASA found in space.
Yeah, the Shoemaker-Levy comet had hit Jupiter, and there was all of this imagery of it, and we all of a sudden realized, holy shit, outer space is like a shooting gallery, and there are asteroids flying by us and comets flying by us all the time that we've been unaware of. And also, this hypothesis that the dinosaurs had been destroyed by asteroid or comet hitting the Earth had been formulated in 1985, but I think had really permeated the popular culture in the early 90s with the advent of something like Jurassic Park, for example. Dinosaurs are top of mind. So again, I do think there are a lot of minds in Hollywood, and we're all processing the same information at the end of the day. And so it does make sense that these ideas, maybe they're stolen from time to time, but what seems more likely is, like asteroids, there are so many hurling past us in any given moment. And what's more unusual is that 2 studios have the hubris to play the game of chicken and decide to go head-to-head with developing these movies. And so to me, it's like the way possibly to think about it is that there is actually a lot of potential for twin films at any given moment. And the reason that we don't have them is that studios tend to back away from going head-to-head with one another with a given film, because it's incredibly risky. And I mean, Lizzie and I talk about this all the time. Studios, they move movies off of certain weekends because they don't want to compete with a different movie that may overlap in terms of audience. And so one way to think about it might be less, I'm going to shoot another bullet, with my gun in midair, and instead say, there are so many bullets traveling through the air at all times, I'm actually going to remove my other bullets, from time to time, so they don't interfere with the other studio.
I actually really like twin films. I like watching them. I'm not mad at their existence at all, because they're such a great example of, it's not about the story or the idea, it's how you tell it. And it's so fascinating to see 2 completely different directors like Michael Bay and Mimi Leader. You can't get more different than those 2 in terms of Armageddon and Deep Impact, telling what is a very similar story, and yet the movies are so different, and they are individually enjoyable. And I like when studios plow ahead with this. And like, yes, I'm sure there's borrowing. There's osmosis of ideas all the time, everywhere. I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, because they're not going to be the same movie if it's different people making them.
So what I'm hearing is that, to us, it feels like twin films are happening so frequently, but what you 2 are saying is that actually considering the way films are produced, twin films could be occurring way more frequently than they are.
So the way I would maybe encourage people to think about it after looking into this a bit is, historically, a classic form of twin film has been like the A feature and the B feature, right? And so sometimes this has been on the big screen and sometimes it's either the big screen versus the small screen. So like post-disaster film renaissance, you would oftentimes see an A picture in theaters and either a miniseries or a television B picture on television. And I think the thinking here is there is an idea that has seemingly captured the zeitgeist, and the television corollary to the studio is saying, we are going to make our low budget, very fast, cheap and dirty version of this, Tornado versus Twister, the television 2-part miniseries of Titanic in 96 versus James Cameron's epic in 97, because A, we think that if an audience is interested in the big feature version, maybe they'll just watch this because they're also interested in this, but also B, we could capture a section of the market that studio is not going to be able to capitalize on, which are the people that are not going to go to the theater necessarily, the people that are just going to stay home and watch it on television. And this is kind of morphed over time into the mockbuster more recently, which you guys might, the guys who do Sharknado, et cetera, and they do things like Transmorphers and Paranormal Entity, and it almost seems like the movie, but it's not the movie. And that was really born out of 2006's War of the Worlds. Spielberg was doing an adaptation of War of the Worlds at the same time that these producers who are kind of Roger Corman-esque are trying to do their version of War of the Worlds because it's public domain, this IP. They realize, wait a second, Blockbuster has ordered 100,000 copies of our VHS, mistakenly thinking they've ordered the Steven Spielberg one. There's a business opportunity here. And so I think that makes sense from a business perspective. And like what you're saying is the more rare instances to kaiju, going at it in the water, like Olympus Has Fallen and White House Down, for example. And those are rare, I think, again, not because the inception of those ideas is rare. They're actually incredibly common. It's that usually one of the drivers pulls out of the skid and says, I don't want our cars to hit head on.
Just to kind of distill the reasons why we think twin films are happening into kind of easily consumable explanations. What I'm hearing so far in this conversation is one reason is, literal intellectual theft. Another reason is that something happened in the zeitgeist that influenced multiple films to be developed at the same time. Example of that would be like Steve Jobs dying, and then there's two biopics happening all of a sudden. And then the third reason we were talking about is kind of just like technological limitations
or breakthroughs, like on the flip side.
I think that's exactly right. I think it's a confluence of those three things, and I also just think it's so tempting to think you stole my idea. It's something we've probably all experienced, but the thing that's harder to come to terms with is that I don't know that any of our ideas are actually that individual when you break them down. There is kind of a collective unconscious pool I think we're always pulling from. And I do think that's where twin films come from. Like, yes, sometimes you go to lunch with your quote-unquote friend who's taking notes. They're probably taking your idea. But there's other times where it's just asteroids and comets are in the news, or it's something people are thinking about. It's something that's in the back of your mind. It's something that's in the back of millions of people's minds. And it's something that you realize, hey, I could make money on this. And the fact that somebody else has that idea does not necessarily mean they took it from you. And I think that we underestimate our sort of common brain a bit.
There are also, anniversaries, for example. This would tie into the zeitgeist thing. You had 1492, Conquest of Paradise, Ridley Scott, Christopher Columbus, nobody saw it. And then you have Christopher Columbus, The Discovery, from the producers of a bunch of Superman films. Also, nobody saw that movie. So nobody was really interested in the 500th anniversary of Christopher Columbus, but
it was there.
It was embraced by a couple of studios to the tune of $100 million. Like Lizzie is saying, we are all collectively filtering the same information and looking for stories in a lot of these places. And sometimes it's influenced by twin events inside of other forms of media. So, you have like the mid-aughts to 2013 sort of YA dystopian future phenomena, right? Where you have the Hunger Games and you have Divergent and you have the Maze Runner. And these are all based on they're all literary adaptations, but that's because the literary landscape was very much riddled with YA dystopian and novels. Well, okay, why is the literature landscape riddled with that? Okay, maybe it's because we're in the middle of a recession right now, and all of the hope and change that everybody said Obama was going to bring doesn't seem to be happening all of a sudden, and it's going to be the Hunger Games, and so these books are really resonant. Who knows? But I do think Hollywood is very reactionary at the end of the day. We're simultaneously incredibly unique in that the scene-to-scene differences in these movies could not be more drastic, and yet the big picture ideas that we're coming to are very universal, I think.
Yeah, and if for example, Devin and I wanted to make a movie about ants separately, of course they're both going to have the queen ant, they're both going to have the ant colony or the army, they're both going to,
Right, you're going to cast Woody Allen.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll go more problematic. I'll see if I can get, I don't know who.
Kevin Spacey?
It's more problematic.
All right, so we learned a little bit about why twin films happen so regularly. But after the break, I want to return to A Bug's Life and see why Chris and Lizzie think this movie works so well. Okay, we're back. We're still here with the hosts of What Went Wrong, Chris and Lizzie. At the top of our discussion, we were talking about A Bug's Life versus Antz, and more broadly, these kind of Disney Pixar versus DreamWorks twin films. I've always felt like the DreamWorks titles were a little more interesting because they were weirder, essentially, and a little more nuanced. But I'm curious about what makes the Pixar movies click for you two.
I feel like it's very tempting to call these Pixar, if we're talking about Pixar versus DreamWorks, to call the Pixar movies, in particular Bug's Life, the more sort of simplistic ones. I actually think that they're deceptively complicated. Because I watched both A Bug's Life and Antz back to back ahead of this, and honestly, yes, A Bug's Life is more geared towards children for sure. However, I think that the sort of the complex, emotional things you have to wrangle with in A Bug's Life, to me, are a bit more complex than they are in Antz. Antz tells you exactly what it is up front. It's Woody Allen Ant is in therapy. They literally tell him you're insignificant. He's like, okay, I get it. And then he's like, maybe I'm not insignificant. Maybe we need to start a revolution. And the people, it's like, listen, it's fun. I shouldn't crap on it too much. It's a totally fun movie. But with A Bug's Life, it's more like, I think in making something that is easier for children to relate to, but still very smart, they actually explore something that to me has a bit more depth to it. And the same in Toy Story, the characters are actually very complex. You don't, Woody is the main character in that. He's kind of a jerk to Buzz. He's a great guy until he's confronted with someone who could potentially usurp his position, and then he's not such a great guy.
Well, if you hadn't shown up your stupid little cardboard spaceship and taken away everything that was important to me... Don't talk to me about importance. Because of you, the security of this entire universe is in jeopardy. What?
And it's this question of, having to wrangle with yourself in a way that I actually think the Pixar films explore better than some of the DreamWorks.
Interesting. Yeah, it's taking these complicated ideas and making it digestible for kids is more impressive, you're saying, than...
I think so.
This is music to Devin's ears.
It's exactly it. The Bug's Life, they're playing around with gender. Remember the ladybug is a man.
Hey, cutie! Want to pollinate with a real bug?
So, being a ladybug automatically makes me a girl. Is that it, flyboy? Huh?
Yikes! She's a guy!
I forgot about that.
Time.
Also, Heimlich, self-love, and body image, and I agree. It's like
I
that,
was laughing
line...
out loud through all of Bug's Life. I gotta tell you, just howling, laughing. I couldn't believe how funny that was.
Yeah, it's like in a drama, a line has to work dramatically, and in a comedy, it has to work dramatically and comedically, right? If you're a Pixar film has to work for children and adults in equal measure, and like Lizzie's saying, that's a hard target to hit.
Yeah.
It is. And I think, interestingly enough, to me, Antz, the characters were less dynamic and more sort of caricatures versus A Bug's Life. They were very complex. The Julia Louis-Dreyfus Princess Ant total jerk to Dave Foley. I can't remember any of the actual characters' names. I just want you guys to know that.
I just remember the main character's name was Flick.
Flick, yes. She's
Flick
such a jerk to him. And
Yeah.
and she like recognizes that in herself halfway through, which was really nice because I was like, man, I hope he doesn't just go for her when she's being, such a tool
She's just
to him.
nagging him the whole
She
movie.
is.
Yeah.
But she turns it around and I just man, I loved it. And the whole idea of the bird is so clever and like not something you would think. Sorry, guys. I'm really
It's
dunking
all right.
on
These
Antz.
are great points. Yeah. Well, something
Sorry,
Noah,
I didn't make it.
something interesting that Noah mentioned earlier was that in the DreamWorks ones like Shark Tale and Antz, the characters are often caricatures of the people voicing them.
Yes.
Which, like,
They're
you've
also
got the
animated
Christopher
to look
Walken
more
Ant.
like the
Yes,
voice.
exactly.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I just thought that was interesting.
I'm not a fan of that.
What's up? You don't want to see ants that are shaped like Christopher Walken?
That's interesting.
No, I don't want to see Christopher Walken ant. I don't want to see its teeth. I just want an
Sylvester
ant.
Stallone ant was awesome. Though. You have to
yes,
go.
I agree.
Well, guys, this has been so insightful and useful. Thank you so much for joining us, and hope to chat to you guys soon.
Thanks so much for having us.
This was great.
You guys have a great show. We will be listening.
No Such Thing is a production of Kaleidoscope Content. Our executive producers are Kate Osborne and Mangesh Hattikudur. The show was created by Manny Fidel, Noah Friedman, and Devin Joseph. The theme and credit song is by me, Manny. This episode was mixed by Pran Bandy. Our guests this week were Chris and Lizzie from the What Went Wrong podcast. Definitely be sure to go check that show out. It's a lot of fun. And visit nosuchthing.show to subscribe to our newsletter. If you have feedback or a question, our email is mannynoahdevin@gmail.com. Or if you're in the US, you can leave us a voicemail by calling the number in our show notes. We'll see you next week.
Such thing.